Hey, what is up guys? How are we doing? And welcome back to another video. Now today I want to talk to you about budget high refresh rate monitors because I've got one here from Benq and it is the XL2411. And this is a monitor that pretty much has everything a true gamer would want, or at least that's what the marketing would have you believe. So this is a monitor with a 1080p resolution, 144Hz refresh rate, a TN panel, but it does lack any FreeSync or G-Sync tech. Priced at around about £200, is this a monitor you should be considering, or is it something that maybe you shouldn't? Well, as always, it all starts with the design of the monitor, which I have to say is very inoffensive, but it does absolutely nothing to wow me at all. It is fairly bland, it will fit in with pretty much any colour scheme, but it doesn't really do anything to look particularly gamery, but it doesn't really look that interesting either. So while it will fit anywhere, don't expect it to sort of become the centre of your desk, as it were. Round the bottom of the monitor you will notice that the stand is very adjustable. In fact, it's got all the adjustments you would need, and it has a lot of them because the swivels around a lot. There's plenty of height adjust, and you can pivot this to 90 degrees as well. Although this being a TN panel, that's not necessarily something you'd want to do, as the viewing angles may not be ideal in this scenario. Move round to the back of the monitor, and here we've got all our inputs. We have a HDMI socket, although this is limited to 60Hz. We've got DVI, which is what you're going to want to use for that 144Hz refresh rate, and then your legacy VGA. For some reason though, there is no DisplayPort here, which I find really odd, as my personal Benq monitor that I bought, 3 or 4 years ago, had a DisplayPort socket, so it's kind of a strange omission on a monitor that costs over £200. On the left hand side of the monitor though, you will find that there is a headphone jack that you can plug in some headphones to, but there is no USB hub, so you won't find any USB ports on this monitor. Move to the underside and you'll find the buttons for controlling the on-screen display. And the on-screen display, generally speaking, is pretty good. It's fairly easy to use. I didn't find myself getting confused. Visually, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's definitely actually one of the better menu systems currently available today, despite the buttons feeling a little bit cheap. And it's in the menu that you will find a range of presets, with myself opting for the sRGB one, and then lowering the brightness because the brightness is way too bright out of the box, and if you set it to 100 you would definitely blind someone. Well, maybe not literally, but yeah, way too bright. You do have a few Benq exclusives, things like the black equalizer that will allow you to see through shadows and essentially completely ruin the image quality of your monitor, but it can give you an advantage in games, but it's definitely not something I would actually recommend that people use, but obviously have a play and see for yourself. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about the monitor from a design point of view, and of course the menu system. But what's this thing actually like to use, and is it good for gaming? Well, to answer that question, you're going to want to put this on your desk, and you're immediately, almost certainly, going to be disappointed with the image quality if you've ever used an IPS monitor, because it just looks a little bit flat, and that purely comes down to the fact that it's a TN panel. And when you can get IPS monitors that with 75Hz refresh rates for half the price of this monitor, then I think it's quite fair to say that the image quality isn't fantastic, and it is going to be very noticeable. How much this is going to affect you, well, that's probably more important, because if you are someone that does gaming and then you maybe do some stuff on the side, maybe you edit a few photographs, maybe you want to go browsing pages like Flickr and you actually want to be able to see the full colours in the image, then you will be disappointed and you will feel the compromise. But if you are this monitor's target audience, which is a gamer, and you pretty much only play games and then maybe do some general use on the side, then you're going to be a lot happier with this monitor because it does one thing very, very well, and that thing is gaming. Assuming you can drive this at 1080p at 144Hz, which actually is fairly easy to do if you've got a modern graphics card, then you're going to feel the full benefits because you're going to have a nice, smooth and fluid response time, and the input lag of this monitor is very low. And I think the main two things, if you want to play competitively with the best equipment advantage, is to get yourself a good fast responsive monitor and then a good mouse. And assuming you've got both of those covered, then you are going to have a genuine advantage. And this is a monitor that I would recommend to people that do want to have that monitor advantage, because it is very fluid, it is very easy to play, and playing games like Gears of War 4 that are reliant on you pretty much having the quickest reaction times possible and having a smooth, fluid monitor, then it really does help. But of course, this does come at the cost of image quality, and there are monitors out there that are AHVA, so IPS-like, that have the benefits of being fluid, have the benefits of having a low level of input lag, but also have much better image quality. But of course, those are a lot more expensive, and if you are on a budget, then something like this is actually going to be a pretty good option for you. It just comes down really to what sort of person you are, and whether you are going to want to have the utmost gaming fluidness and responsiveness at the cost of everything else, or if you want a more general monitor that can play games but isn't going to give you necessarily that much of an advantage. But when it comes to this particular monitor, there are definitely some extra flaws that need to be pointed out. The main one really is the fact that the closest rival to this is the AOC, the G270PF, or something very similar to that. It's around about £20 cheaper at the time of filming. It has, in my opinion, a slightly nicer design, although maybe it does feel a little bit cheaper. But the main thing really with that monitor is that it has DisplayPort and it has FreeSync. Sure, maybe you won't use either, but those are two extra features that that monitor has that this one doesn't. And when you look at the two on paper, they're very, very similar, and pretty much the only real reason for someone to go for this monitor is if they want the 3D vision that comes with this particular BenQ monitor. Otherwise, for me, it would come down to whether you want that FreeSync or just pretty much go for whichever one is cheaper if you are serious about getting a monitor like this. And yeah, that's pretty much the way I'm going to wrap up this video. Overall, this does win the recommended award. As I say, this does one thing, and it does one thing very, very well, and that's gaming. But if you're someone like me that does stuff other than gaming from their monitor, then it's definitely worth considering whether the compromise of that image quality is something you're willing to do. So there you go, recommended award. What do you think? Is this a good monitor for you? Is this something you would buy, or do you think BenQ should have added more features? Let me know down in the comment section below. A massive thank you to BenQ for supplying this review unit. Thanks to Corsair for sponsoring the channel as always. Subscribe for more monitor reviews like this. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, and I'll see you in the next one.